Hi, it's Miss Devereaux, and I just wanted to walk you guys through how to complete this outline assignment because I think a little extra guidance will help you to be a lot more successful in this assignment. So the idea of this outline is that at this point you have really pulled a lot of examples from your book. You have identified a theme that you think is the most common theme in your book. You've explained a lot of those examples and how they relate back to your theme. And you've written a thesis statement that should be a roadmap to a paper. So this outline is kind of putting all of that information that supports your thesis statement together. And the goal of this outline is that you will have something really solid by the time you're done with your outline. So you can just pull this information out of your outline, paste it together into paragraphs, add a few linking words or sentences, and be done with your paper. So I'm just going to walk you through some elements that I think might trip you up on this outline. And if you get this submitted in time before your permanent zero deadline, you will be able to have a retry on your outline, but that only gives you a little bit of time at this point. So in your opening paragraph, you're going to have to write a hook. And remember, your hook needs to draw your reader in. A lot of these things that you're going to be asked for throughout your outline, to include the elements that you write about in your thesis statement, you've already learned about in your notes pages. So if you need a refresher, go revisit your notes pages, and you will find examples of really effective hooks in there, as well as there's lots of discussion about what a thesis statement is, how it works, theme, and any element that you may have chosen for your theme. So everything you've done to this point should help you complete your outline. So when you do a hook, it should be 1 or 2 sentences. It needs to be something that is an attention getter. So it's not your thesis statement. It needs to be something interesting. You're going to then just type in your novel title, and you want to capitalize and punctuate this title properly. So you can look into the notes pages to see how you can include a book title in an essay, or you can Google including a book title in an MLA formatted essay. It will tell you exactly what you need to do. You'll need your author's name as it's listed on the book, and make sure you are spelling and capitalizing it properly. Then you're going to provide the thesis statement that you think is the best. Make sure you've looked over the feedback that I provided you on your thesis statements, because I probably gave you some direction on how to improve it, how to make sure you've included all of the elements. Make those changes and then paste your thesis statement here. Remember, whatever your thesis statement says is what you will talk about in this paper. So if in your thesis statement you say that your author uses literary devices and plot to develop the theme, then the only things that you will be talking about in this paper are literary devices and plot. You're not going to talk about anything else but literary devices and plot. The next body paragraph, you're just going to give kind of a summary of your book. So key events. You want to think about your plot elements. So there's 5 elements of plot, and you've defined those and identified those already in your novel worksheet. In all those sections you go through and you have identified all the elements of plot, so you can just paste those in here. Some of you might feel like there's more than 5 major events, but you're going to have to limit yourself to 7. So just keep that in mind. But again, a lot of this should hopefully at this point be cut and paste. Your second body paragraph is where you're going to start kind of compiling a lot of information to prove your thesis statement. So you're going to have a topic sentence. The sentence is going to introduce the element you will discuss in this paragraph. So again, if in my thesis statement I said literary devices, in my topic sentence for this paragraph, I'm going to need to say something about literary devices or plot, and that tells me that this whole paragraph, my entire focus is on showing how my author used either literary devices or plot to develop theme, but just one of those elements. You're not going to talk about both elements in this paragraph, just one. Your evidence from your novel. So this needs to be an actual passage from your novel that you cut and paste. Remember, when you are cut and pasting passages, you need to put quotation marks around those passages. If your passage is dialogue, you will start with the double quotation marks, and then let's say that you are going to include dialogue that somebody has said. Let's say it's thank you. when you include dialogue, this is how you include dialogue in quotation marks to indicate that it is speaking and that you are quoting that from your passage. And then we'll say this follows. He said, okay, that is how you would include dialogue as a cut and paste passage. You'll have to provide your page number as well, and then you're going to need to explain how the evidence, so this evidence here, utilizes the element. So let's say I'm talking about literary devices to show the theme. So here I would need to explain how what is said is demonstrating the theme. So let's say my theme is courage always makes you stronger, okay? So I would say something about how, there's a lot of ways you can say this, but you could reflect on it and say something like, we'll say my author's last name is Smith. James Smith uses this dialogue to show us courage by or through, and you would explain what about the words are showing us the theme. So don't actually say this passage is evidence because. You want this to flow. You want to think about if you were reading an essay, how it would flow. Usually essays don't include lines like this evidence proves my thesis statement because. What you want to do is just explain your evidence and how it connects back to that element and your thesis statement, because remember, everything in your paper has to connect back to the claims in your thesis statement. Your thesis statement is your roadmap. And so that means that you can only talk about things in your thesis statement, and you must prove everything from your thesis statement. Okay? Then you'll go and pull a second piece of evidence. You'll do another explanation, and then you just give a one-sentence wrap-up, kind of like a summary that tells us how that element was used to prove the theme. As you get going, the more thought you put into these explanations, the better feedback I'm going to be able to give you. So keep that in mind. And this is going to have just these 2 paragraphs. If you decided to choose 3 elements of plot, you'll probably need to add another paragraph. If you've only got the 2 elements of plot, which is all that was required, or not elements of plot, sorry. If you've only got the 2 elements, which is all that was required, then you'll just keep this outline as is. If you need more help, please send me an email, be specific about what you're confused on, or go to my calendar and set up a time to come in or complete a phone conference so that we can discuss this. Good luck.